Hello, how are you doing? This is Pierre Dude. This YouTube is going to be on Animar. I have some YouTubes that I mentioned, like my practice YouTubes, practicing the bass that I'm getting ready to do. And it mentions Animar, but now that's getting really serious, and one of the things that I want to do is that I wanted to do a video on Animar and how I came up with it and where I would like to go with the Animar. I said in my former videos that I'm a classical vocalist. Okay, I studied classical vocalist. It's in my other YouTubes, stressing how how I started and everything. But in classical vocalists, it's like no one can tell you how to. They can put in a book how this works and how that works, but there's a lot of things missing. The reason why I have my channel actually is dealing with things that I went through when I was learning a lot, and I noticed it's mostly like before the basics, because I would always look in books to find out, well, let me start with the basics. If I get the basics, I know that I can do whatever I want to, because I know I had a talent that if I just found the key, I could pretty much do whatever I wanted and feel free, okay? But in the books, they didn't have basics. They have the basics, but they don't have anything before the basics, okay? Like they say pitch, and you have pitch, and then you have the keys, you have the beats, and you have, okay, let's see how my thinking was when I was searching for music and what I wanted to do in music, and studying a classical vocalist. And pretty much classical vocalists, you have to find things yourself. Okay, so in that point of view, I want to say that there's pitches, and then there's beats, and then you have like major. I studied so much music, and I took classes in musical theory, and so you have your major keys, and then you have C, D, E, and then there's a half step. And those are things that got to me, okay? Okay, there's a half step. Well, what is a half step? And then, you just do it, and then you just click on or something. And I could stay in key and everything, but there was so many questions that I had, and I was saying like before the basics. So this is some of the things that got to me, okay? And I notice from experience now that if something doesn't go smoothly, as far as I'm saying, the way that the mechanism in the mind works, I pretty much try and find what's the problem. I'm not saying there's a problem, because many people can do it, but I also am very much into I could write songs and I could write melodies. I wrote a lot of songs and a lot of melodies. And all of them, I didn't worry about pretty much anything as far as keys or anything. But I got people to do the music for me. And that's some of the questions that helped me to figure out that I wanted to do Animar. Now, I didn't know that I would do Animar, but like I said, I was very much interested in music, and I had some bands, and I took vocal lessons, classical vocal lessons, when I was very young. And as I went through life, I guess I could say, do I want to say like years or whatever, I say, I always was looking for the answer, like what is it that makes this thing click? And I asked my professor, I tried to ask my professor who helped me with the classical vocalist, but I didn't find what the thing was. But I remember talking to a friend that helped me. He's from El Salvador. And he helped me to learn how to do drywall and things like that when I was very young. And we became like brothers. And I remember I had a band and I asked him, I said, what am I supposed to do? You know, he was like a brother to me, definitely one. I haven't heard from him, but I would like to speak to him again sometime. Excuse me. One pressing question I used to always ask myself is, do I have to know like everything? You know, like, and I used to ask that to myself, so I asked him, I said, do I have to know like everything about it? And he goes, yes. You have to know about how it goes up, how it goes down, this, that. And I remember just in my journey of life, I remember one time I was singing, just singing to myself. And I would do that, like, trying to figure out what this whole mechanism was. And I would say, and I would notice, you know, sound and how it's working. And I said, do I have to know that? And it was almost like, yeah, but that's impossible. You know what I mean? It's impossible that I have to know, like, every fraction, every second, every thing that happens when I'm singing. You know, I thought it was impossible. But the way my mind works is that yes, you have to do that. And I kept doing it, but like I said, as far as dancing with music, I never put like a pressure on myself. I always dealt with it as something like a hobby, even though it was like non-existent. It seemed like to reach what goal I wanted to do as far as vocalist or music is concerned. So it was impossible. So anyway, I kept on with the way I felt about music, and I remember this is one reason why I came up with Animar, is because that feeling, something, I translated it into English. I mean, I'm translating the feeling into, you know, American English, and I say it was some kind of feeling that I had when I play. And I remember one time in New York, they used to let you play the pianos. They had this one street, I don't know, it was somewhere close to 42nd Street, somewhere around 42nd Street. But on this street, they had all the music stores. And this is like in the 90s. And I would go to this is after I've been through a lot in life. And I would go to the piano, and they let you play the piano, the keyboards and everything, or the piano. And like I said, I would always play piano all the time, even though just looking, searching for this one thing, whatever it was. And I got to a point where when I would go to the store and I would play, I could play like perfectly. I mean, perfectly. Right now, I can say that I was Animar. It was the Animar. That's what I'm calling it. I used to always say it didn't matter or it wasn't anything, but yet I could just flow through the piano. But I couldn't like repeat everything what I did. But now I can see, because I was using something different, something that I had developed. Because like I said, when I was younger and I went to community college, I would always like practice piano. I mean, just the piano, looking for this thing, looking for what makes it tick, the key, you know. So that's where Animar came from. It's from my searching of where this thing is in music. But like I said, I used to always brush it off. Like, it's just, I'm just playing that song. It doesn't mean anything. But I was very, very good at it. I could go to any piano and just like play it. And I was in that state, that Animar state of mind. That's what I'm going to call it. Now with the guitar, it was more difficult because after I did so much piano, I wanted to do it in the guitar. So I went to the guitar section and it worked. And I got an electric guitar and it worked, the Animar, which I'm calling it now. But I didn't notice it. But I would play it and people would say, you're just moving your fingers, or they didn't really understand what I was doing because it was so like easy, but it seemed like it was easy, but it was what I noticed that I have been doing since I didn't really worry too much about the reading, which is very important, reading the music and stuff like that. But because of the fact that I compose music, I need material that I have stored in order to convert it into music. So music is very easy to read, but it's missing a lot from what I hear from musicians and things. There's some technicality. Some things are too technical, and you don't really hear it. You don't really hear that freedom. There was one artist, I forgot her name, but she could do all the pitches and everything, but yet I didn't feel anything from her. It was just pitches, or you can do a pitch right, okay, you can sing this right, yeah, you can read music, yeah, but what, I mean, it's not touching me, So anyway, then after that, like I said, after the piano, I went to the guitar section. I didn't know it was another world. So I started playing the guitar, and I actually did it. I could play with any guitar, anyone, I don't care what it is. I could sing and whatever, to show the people that I could sing. And I remember I went for an audition. It's in New York on the East Village, and it was like, I don't feel anything. That song just came from, it sounds really cruel, I don't feel anything, but it's just like sometimes I'm sure everybody goes through it, when you don't want to do anything and you don't feel anything, and I didn't feel like anything, I didn't want to do anything, so I actually did something because I wrote this song, and it's on my earlier tapes, my earlier YouTubes, and it's just like, I have to find it, okay? I don't feel anything, I don't feel anything, the only thing that I want to sing is that I don't feel anything, I don't want to go to the movies and sit down and watch the time fly. I don't feel anything. And it was like that, and I did I didn't have a guitar, and this girl loaned me a guitar, and I just did that. And I knew I played it, and that's the only thing about it is that people kind of like, when they see something new or something that they don't understand, which I do also, you just block it out and it doesn't exist. So I went down, he goes, so, something he said, he goes, but did you play the guitar? I said, I just played the guitar. But it was something that he didn't see. He couldn't match it to anything. So, anyway, but I did it now. I did the audition. I knew I wasn't going to make it. I'm very pessimistic when it comes to auditions, which I like. I like to be pessimistic because then you don't have anyway, that's before. Now let's get back to the Animar. So anything, I would do that. And like I said, I would brush it off, as like everybody would tell me it's nothing. And so I kept going with it. And I wrote a lot of songs, and I had got electric guitar and I had acoustic guitar, and I used to play that. And then time goes on, and I noticed that I could only do the Animar method. Now I'm calling it Animar, even though it didn't exist back then. I could only do it when I felt this feeling that I could do it, and then I would do it. I did it when, in the beginning, like you see the YouTubes that I did a while back. When you see the YouTubes that I created in the beginning, I did it. I had that feeling, and I did it, and I could do it. But then I would stop. Okay, but it got better as you put everything away, and then I moved on, and I started doing it again just recently. And I went back to one of the YouTubes that I did earlier in the beginning, and it was very good, and it was so entertaining. And I said, well, why don't I just make a short out of it? And I made a short out of it, and people liked it, and I liked it, and I know it was good. And then, but I still shrugged it off as if it wasn't anything. And then my friend wanted me at work, he wanted me to do, play the bass guitar, because they want to start this band. I think that they just want to jam. But I want to really actually do something, but they say they're serious. And I said I would do it. So I bought one of his guitars, because I just bought one of his guitars. He gave me a bass guitar at a very nice price, and the amp. I had to get both things. So I started practicing it the regular way, and I noticed it was easier. I mean, just like flat out easy. I mean, we're talking about, it's like to Animar. Animar is like very futuristic, because it sounds that you don't even know exist. Okay. And then I'm practicing the bass, and it's like, oh, I just move my fingers like this, but I'm putting more into it, because I'm finding out what's in between also that I can use when I play the bass. So then I started doing that, so I'm actually getting to know the bass, which is very fun. It's very fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun. So then I said, and I shrugged off, and then when I made a YouTube about the first time I did this bass, and I said, I play like Animal, I expressed it Animal, but it was really like Animar, okay, that I wanted to express, but it's a Spanish word. So then I said to myself, but it seemed so serious, because it was doing well. I mean, a lot of people liked it. And then some people think that it's like nothing, but they'll listen to the whole thing. And I said, it seems, I was telling everybody that I couldn't find how to go to it, and I didn't know how to get to it. And I said, well, why don't I just try and find out why I can't get to it? And I could do it. And I found out how to get to that Animar. It's a really beautiful feeling, this Animar. And then I just get to that beautiful feeling. Now, the thing about it is now I'm explaining how it's developing now. And I practice, and I find things as I do it. So it's existing, but now it's being developed into, like, what do I do when I do this? And what do I do when I do that? And what do I do when I do this? But it's the type that you do it, just like I did this art thing. It's like an art kind of feeling. Like when I did this, and I got a YouTube, when I did this art piece, because this is going to be Animar 6. I'm going to use this with Animar 6 work, and it's just called work, okay? And I don't practice. I mean, I don't practice, because it's in a certain different type of mood. It's in a mood to where you're doing something, okay? Let's say you go into an amusement park and there's a flow, this excitement, it's a flow. It's like that. Or when you're at work, it's a flow. It's a certain kind of mood. It's an excitement also, Animar would call it. I did one on the ocean. It's an excitement. It's about a mood, of being there. It's in the ocean, or everything you know about the ocean. So it's not really a practice, but it's not a practice, but it's getting to know it better. Like I practice pretty much every day about just the excitement of being, and is more of using your fingers and how they work. I mean, how they play the guitar, okay? So you're actually understanding the movements that you make when you do the music, okay? So it's not so much about the guitar. The guitar is like an instrument. The guitar ends up as an instrument that you play, that your body, your fingers play together, and everything else comes together. Because it's like singing, okay? Like classical vocalists. You can't get by in classical vocalists unless you know yourself. And it takes a long time. Like, I remember even 5 years ago when I took a class, I had like 20 teachers, 20 coaches, vocal coaches. And I remember when I got back, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, when I took a coach in Houston, Texas, and it was still jumbled. I mean, everything was like here, there. I'm singing, but where is it? It's here, or it's there, or it's there, or it's there, or it's there, or it's there. Okay. But if you keep going, everything synchronizes, and this is here, that's here, and they work together. Like you have 7 things working together, 7 things working together. Well, it's like the Animar, you're working things together, you're putting things together. It's not just about the guitar, it's about, and like for instance, these sounds, okay? Things that you would, because it's a different method, and I'm not putting down any other method, because it's an Animar, you have to open something else to listen. You just don't try and compare it to anything. You open your, how can you say, you open to your ears? No, it's past the ears. The ears are used to, your hearing, let me say, are used to interpret something. Interpret, like what you feel, like, you're like, I'll play that, okay? Now, you can't put it to anything. But with Animar, I'm Animaring you, okay? Like, I'm Animaring you, okay? And that's what it is. So it would be like Animar, me animo, and I don't know how to speak Spanish that well. But, I speak it, but it's poorly. But I still take lessons. So I would like to say that me animan. So I'm animaring you, something like that, if I'm doing it right. I'm gonna talk to my professor and see. So I'm playing it with the Animar method, and I'm going to try and translate it in English. Like, I'm doing it, or like, for instance, I'm Animaring you. Okay, yeah, I can actually say that. Okay, because I transferred this word over to English, And I'm saying this is an Animar method. And for you to understand it and feel it, I'm animaring you. Like, for instance, I'm talking to you. And because I could do it in other instruments, it still has to have time, it has to have beat, it has to have a lot of things that music has. But I don't practice it, but I learn it more. So I'm animaring you. So in order for you to listen, you have to be open to like being animared. See, like that, okay? So, and the nice thing about it is you can't adapt it to this or that or this or that or this or that. Because I've actually developed it naturally, it was one reason why I didn't want to, like for instance, C, D, E, half step, F, G, A, B, and then half step, and then the monochrome or whatever. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. Okay, but the Animar is more difficult. I don't know why, because now that I have actually made it into a method, it facilitates my learning like the basic. Now I can see it. Like when I'm playing the bass, I'm learning the bass. It's so basic. So I can say Animar is like before the basics. And what do you have before the basics? It's like backwards. Okay, whenever you learn something and you go to the basics, you're learning it and you're going forward. But with before the basics, and this is why I could never find what was before the basics. And my whole YouTube is pretty much about before the basics. You go from the basics and you go backwards. Okay? You go backwards. So I hope that I've intrigued you, or I hope that I sparked your interest in Animar. And I have this Animar. I'm supposed to do one Animar 6, work. Okay, and I got this right here that I did, and this is the back, the background, and I did it with the Animar. So the music, the Animar, is a replica of this, a visual, what you see, and it's like the expression of work. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this YouTube, and I hope you will come back to listen to Animar 6 work. Thank you.